After the sentencing, we heard from Combs' attorneys.
It's absolutely wrong. The jury verdict was disregarded, and it's not supposed to happen. You shouldn't do that. Going to trial is already hard enough. When the jury speaks, you need to listen.
I think it sends the wrong message to people.
This is wrong. We have to change the way we look at it. We are incarcerating way too many people. So 2 years is an eternity in custody.
A jury, of course, had acquitted Diddy of the more serious crimes that he had been charged with, like sex trafficking and racketeering. But before the sentence was handed down today, after hours of hearing from attorneys inside the courtroom, it was Diddy's turn to address the court. And he cried as he addressed his mother, as he begged the judge for mercy. He said, and I'm quoting him now, "I don't have nobody to blame but myself. I know I'll never put my hands on another person again. I know that I've learned my lesson. I'm willing to comply with any conditions the court puts upon me." He also apologized to Cassie Ventura, saying, quote, "I lost my self-respect. I've been humbled and broken to my core. I hate myself right now. I got stripped down to nothing." I want to get right to our CNN legal analyst, Joey Jackson, CNN's senior legal analyst, Ellie Honig, and also Elizabeth Wagmeister, who spent all day inside the courtroom and has been covering this trial as closely as anyone. And you were actually inside the room as this was handed down. What was that like inside there?
You know what's interesting, Caitlin? The whole day was very emotional. You had 5 of Diddy's attorneys each speak at length for 30 to 45 minutes each. There were tears. One of his attorneys was sobbing when she was speaking about how inspired she was by her client. And as you said, we saw Diddy cry at one point. But when the sentence was handed down, almost no emotion. He was very, very stoic. When he walked out of the courtroom, he did turn around to his kids and his family, and he made a gesture that kind of made it seem like he was signaling to them it'll be okay, but no tears, no big reaction.
Well, the judge seemed to be a big focal point of today, and what he was saying in terms of speaking not only to the women who came forward here, but also to Diddy himself.
Yes, so he did speak a lot about the women who came forward, both Cassie Ventura and Jane, neither of whom were there. They did not show up to make victim impact statements, though Cassie did write a letter. But the judge spoke to Diddy, and he said, "I agree with your defense that you have accomplished great things. You've inspired so many, but that does not negate your horrific acts." And he actually said to him, "What was the reason that your abuse was able to continue for so long?" Well, it's because of your power and your resources and the fact that you didn't get caught. But then at the end, when it was really the last few minutes of the sentencing hearing, he actually said to Diddy, "Yes, this is hard time. It's 4 years, but you will get through this with your family and you can really make a difference in the world." So he ended the hearing on a very uplifting note.
Yeah, I mean, as the two of you were watching this, our legal experts, do you think that the judge made a good call here?
I think the sentence, when you actually consider what Sean Combs was convicted of by the jury, I think the sentence was harsh. I think it was within the range of reason, but harsh. But to me, the biggest takeaway from this whole thing is that the Southern District of New York, my old office, overreached. They overreached at every step of this case. They overcharged it, and that's not an opinion anymore. The jury rejected the 3 top charges. And again, that's not just after the fact. I think both of us are on record at the time saying it was overcharged. They overtried the case. There's no reason a 1-defendant, 3-victim case needs to take 6 weeks by 6 prosecutors. I tried a case once with 5 defendants on trial at once, at least 20 victims. I did it with 1 other prosecutor, same amount of time. They overtried it. And with their sentencing request of 11 years, that's ridiculous.
What do you mean they overtried it? Like they took too long?
They took too long. They put too many people on it. They let in too many extraneous details. They should have just cut right to, we used to say thin to win. Get right to it. That's it. Instead, there was too much detail that did not go to the heart of the case. And finally, the 11-year sentencing request was ridiculous, embarrassing. And the judge went most of the way, not all the way, but much closer to the defense request. Then 11 years, and again, for being convicted of interstate prostitution, that's a ridiculous request, and it backfired.
Joey, what was your takeaway?
So people will ask, hey, what about this particular sentence? If you look at this on balance and put it in perspective, he is a big winner today. Let me explain why. When we started out this trial with regard to the racketeering charges, he's running a criminal enterprise, he was facing life in jail. In addition to life in jail, which his liberty interest would have been gone, he was facing the forfeiture of all of his assets.
Yeah.
Now, right, he beats the charges, 3 of them at least, and he gets sentenced now on the other 2, transportation for prostitution. So now you're saying, well, what's going to happen now? You have the prosecutors that have asked for 11 years. I agree with Ellie. That was way overreach, just as the case was way overreach.
What do you think would have been a better
I think you have to stick with the guidelines. So just to be clear, Caitlin, you have these federal guidelines, and what they are is they're just advisory, and they exist so that you have some uniformity in sentencing. You don't want disparate sentences. One defendant gets 10, another gets 5. No, you have guidelines so it's somewhat even. They try to go outside of the guidelines to bring in all types of issues for which the jury has made a decision, and the jury said, no, we're not convicting on that. So why are you going and suggesting that all of this conduct for what the jury repudiated, you want to include it in the sentence? That's not appropriate. Last point, you have the United States Department of Probation. They also issue a recommendation. Their recommendation, Caitlin, was anywhere from, 5 to 7 years. Judge went below that and said, well, I'm not going to give you the 14 months, but I'm going to add on more time, which was 4 years. So if you look at it on balance from what he came into this case with, facing his life, the destruction of his life, to now doing 4 years and $500,000 in payment. Oh, $500,000. He was facing $1 billion in loss because of the forfeiture. So call it what you want. This is a tremendous win. And to be clear, when I say win, there are no winners. There are victims here who are reeling. We get that. Certainly his family is in a problem place. They want him home. But at the end of the day, from what the prosecutors started to where they got, this is a tremendous victory for his team, even if his defense lawyers are really unhappy, and so is he.
So you think this is embarrassing for the prosecutors, basically?
I mean, I think that they significantly, to Ellie's point, they overreach. You don't have a RICO case, which is the racketeering case, where you have a defendant. These are for mob bosses. He was not a mob boss. He's running a criminal enterprise. He's doing this. He's a party of one. In these RICO cases, you have multiple defendants sitting around the table because the government is going after you. You additionally have other defendants who maybe they would have been, but the government lets them off the hook so they could come testify against you. We didn't see any of that here. So why charge it? And I'm a big proponent. I just want fairness. Be fair and righteous. Prosecutors have a vast amount of discretion and a vast amount of power. They can put you in jail. They could destroy your life. Use it in a way that's appropriate. And I think in this case, I know he's Diddy, but just be fair. The government wasn't fair, and I think the judge's sentence reflects that because it's 4 years, not 11.
And I thought what the judge said about these not just being relationships gone wrong or toxic relationships, the judge was saying this is much more than that. And obviously accountability is important because of the women who came forward here. And obviously Diddy's team was trying to show his family's there, his mother, his children. They played a nearly 12-minute long documentary style video, I guess is how you would describe it in the courtroom today. Obviously you saw that, but I want people to just get a little bit of a sense of what was in the courtroom today.
When my baby cries.
We gotta give her a bottle then.
Know that you mean something to people. Know that you mean something to people, like you live somewhere in people's heart.
My nose fell off! Ah! No, my lip fell off! Thank you. You hear it?
I wonder, as someone who covered this as closely as you did and is as well sourced as you are with his world, what you made of that versus what we had heard, the kind of defiance from his team all along.
It felt like in the 11th hour, all of a sudden, Sean Combs realized, oh my gosh, I may actually get time and not walk free tomorrow, because he not only had that video that was filed last night before this hearing, but he submitted a 4-page letter to the judge, which was the first time that he actually said, at least in writing, that he wanted to take accountability. I have to tell you, that video, when I was walking out of the courtroom, I heard someone, who I will not say who, but they were in the courtroom, and I heard them say, what is he, running for mayor? I mean, it just seemed a little odd to have at a sentencing hearing. I had never seen anything like that. As I said, he had one of his attorneys who was crying. It was just a complete 180, that all of a sudden, you have this defense team who for months has been saying he's not guilty, the women are liars, and now he's the most moral man in the world.
I mean, Ellie, when you see that, is that typical at a sentencing?
Yeah, well, not the video part. I mean, that's new, and I thought it was, look, it was too slick, in my view. I think it probably backfired. But it is typical to see this type of duality at sentencing. I mean, that's what sentencings are all about. You, as the prosecutor, know this person for their crimes, but then they bring in the families and the kids. And look, that can be heartfelt. The way the kid, I always used to say, I don't take anything away from the way the kids and the spouse feel about this person. That's fine. But what he's here for is he was convicted of A, B, C. But it's tough. Sentencings are not black and white. They can be emotional, and it's tough for judges.
So he's been famously held at this notorious place in Brooklyn as all of this has been playing out. Do we know where he'll go, where he'll serve this sentence, and how much of it he'll serve?
Yeah, so what I think happens, and it is notorious, it's not doing so well, and judges, even in meting out sentences, will reduce sentences, had it happened to me, and put on the record that it's because of this particular facility. What generally happens is
because it's that bad.
It's that bad. So what ends up happening is that the Bureau of Prisons will assess where there is availability appropriate to his particular crime, and you can make a request of the judge, specifically where you'd like to go. Most people want to be next to their family. Doesn't mean that's what's going to happen, but he will not be serving his sentence there. He at some point will be brought out with regard to the Bureau of Prisons and placed in one of those facilities anywhere across the country.